Good morning. Not legal advice. Like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever. Do something. Anyway, good morning. Hope everybody's well. Today I'm going to do a video on Tesla and Tesla related items. One's going to be legal and one is going to be more of a general EV view, short and sweet. Quickly, I saw an ad for burial plots yesterday and thought, that's the last thing I need. Thanks again for little Bruce T for that wonderful comment. So the first issue I wanted to tackle was the issue, it happened about a week ago, regarding a data breach in Germany and concern about fines. And the fine that was suggested was $3.3 billion. And the way that was calculated, it was 4% of the total sales or turnover of that company. And German courts are the most strict and severe, let's say, or their tribunals in imposing those fines. So what happened was there was a data breach. A employee or former employee stole a bunch of information, gave it to some kind of publication. Tesla contacted the publication, basically with a cease and desist, and now there's litigation. But because of the rules in the EU, when there's a data breach, fines will be imposed. So different countries use different calculations. In Germany, they use a percentage of turnover, and in the Dutch, for example, use more of a fact-based analysis and look at the severity of the breach. So again, in this case, somebody who claimed to be a whistleblower went in and stole, misappropriated, took, however you want to define it, a whole bunch of information. A question I have is how they could be a whistleblower if they stole confidential information of general clients, etc. That doesn't seem to be consistent with a whistleblower, but that's how they were characterized. So, as I said, in Dutch, in Netherlands, excuse me, they do a more of a fact-based approach, and so in Germany they've imposed fines on a few occasions, and those have been challenged in German courts on numerous occasions because of the focus on turnover. And the reason for that is because the fines themselves are not supposed to be excessive, and they're not supposed to be a response or an undue response to an individual violation. It's supposed to be a fact-based analysis. So fines that have occurred or been imposed in Germany have been challenged, and they've been reduced by as much as 90% by the courts. So whereas Germany focus on turnover, now they're starting to focus on other things. For example, the duration of the breach, the responsibility of the party who was breached, how long it lasted, what efforts they took, how many prior incidents there were, how they cooperated, what they did afterwards, etc. And that's the newer approach. And so it's obviously important to deal with these issues because you don't want to have data breaches. But if you take actions to rectify that, that should also be taken into account. So we heard the number 3.3 billion. In reality, I think it's going to be substantially less. And I would also expect that Tesla will take actions to alleviate the risk in the future. You can't stop it 100%, but since your prior conduct and what you did will be evaluated if there's a future breach, it's important that they do at least update protocols and check and examine how it happened. So that was about a week ago, and I expect there'll be a fine issued at some point in time, and then probably some litigation about the fine. But it'll come back and it'll be an issue at some point in time. So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. The other issue I kind of wanted to talk about was I hear discussion about, and obviously I follow EVs pretty closely, and I follow the American OEMs, the legacy autos like Ford and GM and Stellantis, whatever that is. But recently there's been a partnership started between Ford and Tesla. Tesla obviously is the king of EVs. There's no question about that. And Jim Farley, who is not as funny as his cousin, has acknowledged that. And Ford and GM are struggling, and they've acknowledged they can't make any money on EVs at least through 2030. And that's probably assuming they do everything correctly. And I don't know if, for example, the current CEO of GM will be the CEO when it comes to 2030. I would expect actually not if GM is to survive. Just how they are going at this point in time. I don't really believe that the CEO is transparent and ultimately will be effective. But there are, amongst all the EV companies, there are only two that are making money. Tesla makes money, significant money, obviously, and BYD, who's subsidized by the Chinese government, does make some money in EVs, but makes most of its money in hybrids and produces volumes of vehicles. But the other companies, none of them make money. So we have several companies who are trying to get into the EV business who have indicated they won't be profitable to 2030. There may be new ones that come on the scene, but it takes quite some time from when the business starts to when you are producing in mass, as we have seen. So I would expect Tesla to fill up that market share through 2030, delivering, and there's estimates on the low side, 10 million vehicles, but I think on the high side, Tesla would estimate 20 million. Probably somewhere between those two is a fair estimate, but at a profit and taking over greater market share and filling up the roads with their vehicles. I'm out in California. I see them all the time, see charging stations, etc. So what appears to be emerging in Tesla, at least as to the current EV models, is that they're going to license their technology. So will that include manufacturing robots, FSD, and other items? We shall see. But it seems to have started with Ford, first with supercharging. Now it appears perhaps with collision avoidance and braking. And I'm expecting also, because there was a comment yesterday by either yesterday or the day before, and on Farzad's channel, we've discussed it for quite some time, about licensing FSD. Why not? So why not Ford, who may be Tesla's little brother, start adopting Tesla's technology? So Tesla's technology becomes the standard in the United States. And since Ford has a strong union presence through the UAW, and in effect, I believe that through these actions, Tesla will be keeping Ford in business and perhaps letting them flourish through the use of Tesla's technology. That would seem to be a calculated long-term move to resolve regulatory impediments to the adoption of FSD and other items. And I think it's a brilliant play. So I have to give props to Elon for that suggestion. But in terms of the long run, I think it's a brilliant play for getting Tesla's FSD and other future technologies installed as the standard in the United States. Anyway, just wanted to give that off. I know it's a little different, but I'll talk more about EVs because I really am interested in that. Anyway, have a great day. Take care.